Welcome in to another episode of the My Two Bits Gators Football Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Ben, joined as always by my other host, Mr. Randy. Randy, how are we doing tonight? How do we feel after a pretty good spring game?
I'm feeling good, man. Good evening. Good to be with you again for another episode. The biggest difference between this spring game and the last one, well, the last two, is I didn't realize we can count that high on the scoreboard. So that was refreshing.
So, according to something I saw, second highest spring game ever in total score. Not sure if that's 100% accurate or not. Don't have a source other than I believe it came from like A to Z Sports or something like that. I had it in the article that I was reading from, but to always cite there. But I can't swear that's the truth. But yeah, apparently it could be. So yeah, definitely a higher scoring affair, which I think for the most part we're happy about. But we will discuss. We will discuss, of course.
We
So
will.
to that end, we get back to a little bit of our more normal season format tonight in how we're going to handle this. So start things off, of course, we will have our intro, our accuracy disclaimer, our vision, and our agenda. We will then also go through from there. Our agenda is to have a review of the exciting plays in our home my section. We will then talk about the offense in the chomp segment. We will then talk about the defense in the gator bait segment. Do a little visor throw, talk about our complaints that we had from the game, if any. We will then do a brief review on recruiting, as obviously we did have some recruiting activity during the game. We will then take a quick look at Pride of the Sunshine as far as the team culture goes, and if there was any kind of evidence to good, bad, or indifferent in that regard. We have a little bonus segment in this episode that we started last year that I think we really liked, and that's we're calling it Gators That Growled. We want to make sure that we call out those guys that really had a good spring game. I think you can imagine one that will be on that list if you know anything about the game, whether you saw it or not. But we'll go from there. And then lastly, we'll wrap things up, kind of talk about where we think the team is at this point after looking at the spring game, and talk about when we have our next scheduled pod and sign things off. So with that, as per our usual cadence, get us started with your home my's from Saturday's game.
Oh, the old agenda. I love it. I
Mm-hmm.
love it. Well, I'll tell you what, I'm going to keep this sweet. For those of you who know, I have a tendency to cheat and try and pull into the bag and try and
I'm
get.
cheating like crazy, just FYI.
Oh, you are?
I
Okay.
am.
Well,
I am.
well, I believe we've switched roles there. I'm going to keep it real simple. I'm going to keep it real simple for the opening. Um, Jaden Ball, run the ball. If you remember that campaign from a year ago, but at the end of the day, phenomenal game he had. Not as good as somebody else, but still a solid game. I'm going to refer to the run. Actually, it was a pass out to the left that
Yep.
led to a run, led to a great run, very shifty. It was 3rd and 10. This was midway through the second quarter. He gets a pass out of the backfield. He starts on the left side, and he just very slowly, just diagonally works his way across the field over to the right side of the field and crosses the 50-yard line into orange territory. So phenomenal run by him, but the jukes, the shakes, looked
Yep.
like a human joystick, felt like we were playing NCAA, and that's how it looked. That's how it felt. The crowd felt it. Phenomenal run by Jaden Ball. Next one, and recurring theme from the running back room here.
Yes.
Jacoby Jackson, aka Jack Cheese, 90-yard touchdown
Jeez.
run. Yep, yep. Jack Cheese, the aforementioned nickname designated by Coach Jaluk. Thank you, Coach Jaluk, for that. 90-yard run. Yeah, he bounced off a tackle. It probably should have been a more solid tackle, but either way, everyone knows a good running back keeps the legs moving. And guess what? His legs were moving, which allowed him to move to the tune of 90 yards. A lot of people were speculated Jacoby coming back, not coming back, going to the draft. And he made the comment of saying, I feel like I have a lot left in the tank. Well, Jack Cheese, there's plenty left in the tank. So phenomenal run there. And then last but not least, and this is where I think you're going to cheat, but there's a guy named Dallas Wilson,
Yes, there is.
and he caught a pass in very tight coverage. He caught a pass in window right in between with about a 2-yard variance. At the end of the day, the kid's got hands. He's got range. He's got athleticism. And in the words of Billy Napier, that's what a 5-star looks like. I
Yep.
believe the rating agencies got that right. So
Well,
those are my three oh my.
until they changed it, they got it right. He was a 5-star till he committed to Florida. Then they
Sure,
downgraded him, which is
sure.
ludicrous, but whatever.
Either way, you know what? Might be number 6 on the jersey, but definitely number 1 in our hearts, and that's what that's what a 5-star looks like. Period. So I don't think we skipped a beat there from the wide receiving core, despite what we lost with Badger and DK. But that's all I got for my oh my's. B. What about you?
So funny. I share all 3 of those, but then I have one more, and that's why I cheated. So what I did was
The
I
kicker.
combined the running backs into one. And so that's how I cheated, right, to get to the 3. So for those that don't know, we try to keep these to 3. So I did cheat a little, but so same as you, running back, both starters again look absolutely like they have the ability to come out and just build on last season's performance, which was already very stout, very solid. I have the Jaden screen pass catch that you mentioned, right? Run for 48 yards after. Again, juking, shaking, just making guys miss. Now, I will say, slight caveat, and I'll talk to this more later. I do think Myles Graham kind of held up on that play. I don't think he went full speed. I think he probably could have gotten Jaden at about a 10-yard gain or so, roughly 8, 9, 10, something like that. And he clearly looked like he let up. I don't know if that's by design, if that's been coached, right, to not go full on the defensive side of things so we don't hurt people, which, hey, listen, I don't have a problem with that if that's the case. But because I'm not going to say that I don't think Myles Graham shows excellent effort on a regular basis, right? I don't think it was anything where he was just being lazy. But I did notice that. Then, of course, as you mentioned, I have Jacoby taking it 90 yards to the house. Obviously, Jacoby had several great runs on the day, multiple times. A couple times you and I even commented. We were there together watching the game. And for those of you who couldn't see the game, by the way, because it wasn't televised, we'll let you know that it was an entertaining game. It was good. There are also some things that we'll talk about later in a minute here where maybe they weren't as entertaining, but hey, that's okay. Overall, it was a solid game, and it was really interesting to see some things that we saw in terms of the talent on this team and what it looks like without Lagway even really effectively playing. Took a few snaps, but basically did only hand the ball off because he's still not throwing. So again, as I was mentioning with Jacoby, we saw him on a couple different plays where he put his foot in the ground and made a cut. And oh my goodness, not the shimmy and shake of ball, certainly, but this was just a cut and go. And that go was legit. So really good to see that from both of these guys. Again, both of our starting running backs look absolutely phenomenal heading into this season. They both look like guys that could be 3-down backs and carry the lion's share of the carries. They're both big, physical, big bodied, but still fast. Obviously, the elusiveness of Ball and the power of Jacoby. I mean, it's a great 1-2 punch there, which is funny because Jaden's actually the bigger back, but he's more elusive. But hey, all good. So that's my breakdown for the running back side of things. As you had as well, Dallas Wilson, 10 catches for 195 yards and 2 TDs as a freshman in the spring game. Are you serious? The route running, the speed, the body control just look next level. You can just tell by watching that this guy can do it. And frankly, there's a couple other guys I would say the same about. Again, we'll get to that later. But overall, just really great things to come from Dallas Wilson, I think, based on everything that we're seeing. Has the physical build too. That might be the most impressive thing is he's got all those things, but he looks very physically imposing and strong and everything else. So really good stuff there. My third one on here, I'm going to give the defense a little shout out here. We had a tip drill INT. So we had a good ball thrown by Harrison that hit Abrams right in the hands, and he did not catch it. It flipped up in the air and went back to the defender behind. But what I liked here is, once again, we're seeing the awareness of the defense. There was not a step missed, a beat skipped, nothing. The defender actually picked that up, and I apologize, I can't remember who it was that picked it off. But and again, we don't always have the stats to go back to on something like this. But the pick there was. Oh, Stubbs. Great. Perfect. Hilton Stubbs, true freshman. The kid is absolutely on the ball, pun intended, right? And he's just right there to pick that thing up, snatch it out of midair, and start running immediately. That is what this defense had all of last season. I think it's what they're going to need to continue to have moving forward. That kind of awareness, that kind of sense and nose for the ball. Because if we don't generate a similar number of turnovers, I'm not saying it has to be as many because we had quite a few last year, but I do have concerns about this defense with some of the schemes that we run. If we're not able to generate turnovers, I think we'd be in a bad place because we're a little too passive in scheme sometimes. that if we don't generate some of those opportunistic turnovers, that we're probably going to give up some more yards than we want to. And that would be the concern that I have. It's not anything about the talent. It's purely about the scheme that we're running and how we're just a little more passive under Ron Roberts than we were under AA. Granted, we don't give up the deep play as much, but we do give up the underneath stuff quite a bit. So got to make sure we have something to kind of wear that down and take away any drives of momentum or some of the drives of momentum with a turnover. So having said all of that, quite a mouthful there for my oh my's, but like I said, I cheated a little bit, but there's your breakdown of the exciting plays that we saw on Saturday. So one of the things I will say moving into Chomp here is I'm going to try my best, and I'm sure Randy will as well, to keep in mind that a lot of people couldn't watch this game. So we will try to give as much context and detail to what we're talking about as we can within reason. We're not trying to have a 3-hour pod here. So, so we will keep that in mind. So moving on to Chomp, get us started here. The starting O-line, first and foremost, wow, really stood out in this game. Solid run blocking, solid pass blocking, multiple different sets, whether it was 11 personnel, 12 personnel, 11 personnel with the tight end flanked out, whatever. We saw some really nice blocking up front. And didn't really let the first team defense get to Aiden Warner very much at all. So again, Aiden was the one throwing the passes for the most part because Lagway was only coming in for a handoff here or there. So really, really great to see this group come back. Love that we saw Bryce Lovett as the starting right tackle. So pleased with that. I had genuine concern it was going to be Cam Waits. It was not. Oh, man, huge breath of relief for me there. Bringing back your 4 starters from last year and adding Lovett at the tackle, I think, is a much more solid addition. Really think we're going to look pretty darn good on that O-line. A lot of, again, look at the rushing yards we had during this game. Did both backs go over 100? Or no, I guess Jacoby had the screen, Jaden had the screen. So that was a big chunk of his yards, but that's technically obviously receiving yardage. Right. But Jacoby certainly went over 100. So we had was 200 and change rushing yards. Do you know the number?
No, I don't have the exact number, B.
No worries. So yeah, I know the passing yards combined on both teams were 550, which is kind of ludicrous, right? Combined, and then the rushing yards, I know they had to be right at or over 200 yards rushing for the first team, for the blue team. So as a note, we didn't throw this out there, but if you're not aware, blue team did win 38-32. We talked about the total score. We did not, I think, actually call it out, but yeah, blue team wins 38-32. So moving on. Already mentioned, great performance from the running backs, but the freshman wide receivers and running backs stole the show at the skill positions, right? They really both did. Both first and second team, the route running, the yards after catch from the receivers, especially Vernell Brown, who was on the first team, by the way, very interesting, but I think that's because Trey Wilson was out. And the hands all showed up from all 3 freshmen on the squad at receiver. And as we already touched on with the running back, both had outstanding days. But I will also shout out Waltez Clark, who played on the orange team as the original starter. He looked very good as well. Very shifty, but also very fast. Nice combination of speed and elusivity, if that's a word. If it's not, I'm going with it. And really, really good to see that from Waltez. Additionally, good to see Amir Jackson getting some first-team reps at the tight end position. Would love to see him get in the field, get in the fold at tight end, especially obviously as a receiver. He's very much built for that, but he actually had some decent blocks. Did get called for a hold at one point, but overall, pretty good blocking. Certainly, I would have to say better than what we saw, at least in this game, better than what we saw from Boardingham last season, just calling a spade, right? So definitely some better blocking there. Really good to see that because that was a real point of emphasis when he came in. He had not done a ton of blocking in high school. So shout out to Harrison Bailey, the backup quarterback to DJ coming in. I got to tell you, the first half, he looked very hesitant, looked very reluctant to throw the ball, held onto it too long, got sacked a few times. But when he did throw it, it was an accurate ball, when he actually felt like he was comfortable enough to do that. Initially, I was very concerned because here I'm looking at, okay, I don't know what's going on with DJ, the injury news that we didn't have the update at that time right before the game. So I'm going, man, if DJ can't go, this is scary. But then the second half opens up. Harrison looks much, much better, much more composed, much more willing to throw the ball, throws a lot more balls, a lot more scores. And then, of course, we also, post-game, if you don't know, get the news about Lagway that he will resume throwing in a couple of weeks and is expected to be 100% by June. phenomenal news there. So the combination of those two, I feel way better moving into the season than I did after the first half of that game, for sure. Last but not least for me on offense is just the scheme. I'll talk about this a little more when we get to visor throw, but it was super vanilla, which I would expect. It's a spring game. We're not going to see anything, in all likelihood thrown in there, though I do think we could have thrown a couple different formations, especially since the game's not televised, but we didn't. So jury's still out. Are we going to see, any differences, any changes to formation, to route design, to scheme? Again, did not really see it in this game at all, but to a degree, I'm not shocked. So that's my take on offense. What do you got?
Nice take, B. Nice take. Like it. For some reason, I just reminded myself of Jason Bateman there in Dodgeball. F&A, Cotton.
F&A.
Okay. Anyways, great call outs there. I like what you did. I'm going to start off this way. 2 years ago, the Orange and Blue game ended in a 10-7 score. The combined yardage, 505. Last year, 1917, with Trey Smack kicking the winning field goal with about 648 yards. This year, we have 70 combined. Now, I get it. There was a 3-point spot on Orange. Last year, there was a 3-point spot. The year before that, a 3-point spot. But regardless, 70 points, 831 yards of offense.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Oh, and that is also including the fact that the arguably leading deep ball passer in all of collegiate football did not throw a single pass.
Yeah, I think that's the key there for sure. That's a great point.
Is that the key? And that's what I was wondering. I'm like, wait a minute. I'll be honest with you, B. Yeah, we watched the game. It was great to see. Great to see you and watch the game with you. But at the same time, I'm looking at when Aiden stepped on the field after DJ handoff, no problem. I get it. People traveled a long way. People wanted to see him. He took the field. I commend Billy and he for doing that. But when Aiden took the field, I'm like, oh boy, are these going to be flashes of what we saw in Georgia and Texas, right?
Texas, yeah.
And I'm going to do a quick call out to Aiden Warner, right? Yes, he went 10 for 23, 157, 2 touchdowns, and an edge sack. But Aiden Warner did not look like Aiden Warner last year.
No, he did not. It was better. It was better. For sure.
He was much better. He was manageable. He was competent. He was able. And the things that, if you all remember from last year, he couldn't move the ball down the field. Just no rhythm, no Aiden. And again, it's the spring game. I get it. But he looked so different. And so that gave me a little bit of peace, especially not knowing what was going to happen with DJ. How's the shoulder? Do they need a second opinion? Do they need a third opinion? Does it need rest? Does it need surgery? Blah, 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 blah. Okay, so there's that.
And shout out and shout out to Aiden Warner's family, or at least a segment of Aiden Warner's family that was sitting right around us during the game. A lot of here we go Aiden chants and or let's go Aiden chants, I guess it was, and it was fun to be near that and can tell that they had a real vested interest in him playing. It was very, very entertaining to be around. I'm sure they may have not realized who we were, but we figured out who they were. So there you go.
Yeah, not gonna lie, kind of jelly. That was kind of cool. Cool. All right. So to that end, Aiden, like I said, 10 of 23, 157 yards, 2 touchdowns and a sack. Jacoby Jackson, 10 rushes, 198 yards, 3 touchdowns. Folks, he had 99 yards rushing by halftime.
And then took a 90-yarder to the house in the second half.
And then took no problem. Jaden Baugh, 11 rushes, 56 yards. Okay. Vernell Brown, as B mentioned, was on blue, first team, right? I agree. I think it's because Trey was MIA, no problem.
Yeah,
5 targets. Sure. Yep, 5 targets, 4 receptions, 34 yards. But more importantly, of that 34 yards, 29 was yak. So pretty good there.
Yes, very good.
And by yak, I'm sorry, folks, I mean yards after catch. Hayden Hansen, 2 targets, 2 receptions, 23 yards, 6 yak, and a touchdown.
Yep.
J. Michael Sturdivant, 7 targets, 1 reception. Would have liked to see more out of J. Michael, but there was a good battle there on the edge. We'll talk about that later.
Yes.
Aiden Mizell, 1 target, 1 reception, 24 yards, 19 of yak. Pretty good. Harrison Bailey. Let's give Harrison Bailey some flowers. First half. Didn't really do a whole lot, right?
Pause.
Right, pause, awkward pause. Went into the tunnel, came back out, and he put on a cape or something, whatever he did. Harrison Bailey turned up for 29 of 43, 363 yards, three touchdowns, interceptions. However, 6 sacks. So definitely there was some heat there coming from that blue defensive line. Tramel Jones came into the play, right? Or came into the game 2 for 3 of 30 yards. Glad he got a little bit of action. So it was good to see him.
And threw a really nice back shoulder ball to, I don't remember if it was Montgomery or if it's Tank. I don't remember who caught it, but really nice back shoulder ball to the left hash. Really nice ball.
It was a great back shoulder. I'm pretty sure that was Montgomery, but either way, correct. Dallas Wilson, you mentioned 13 targets, 10 receptions, 195 yards, and of that 195, 38 of yak.
Nice.
Right? True freshman, spring game record. And here's the other interesting thing about the numbers. Of his 10 catches, okay, 6 of the 10 went for at least 20 yards.
Nice. 6 or 10 true explosives. Nice.
Right?
Nice.
So he flexed speed, he flexed hands, he flexed athleticism. So again, that's what 5-star looks like, period. Taking that to the house. Tank, 6 targets, 4 receptions, 48 yards. Nice. Right? And of course, a nice touchdown there. Scott Isaacs, if those of you don't know, Scott Isaacs is a tight end, 5 targets, 4 receptions, 20 yards. Nashawn Montgomery, 4 targets, 3 receptions, 70 yards, 39 yards of yak. But I think with that, there was 2 missed tackles there in the secondary.
Yep.
Duke Clark, Waltez Clark, nicknamed Duke, 5 targets, 3 receptions, 21 yards, 17 of yak. TJ Abrams, a tough game for him, man.
Yes,
tough game for him.
Really the only standout disappointment I would say is probably the game TJ Abrams had.
Exactly. I feel for him. I'm sure he wanted to ball out in front of the crowd and swamp, but tough game. But either way, 2 receptions, 9 yards, and that tip pass that led to that INT by Stubbs. But I agree with you. O-line showed great poise. They showed the fact that they had scar tissue. I agree. Rolling Lovett in there, great. And this is what DJ needs to feel safe, to feel comfortable, to have the set, to have another step in the drop, to have another 1.5 seconds. And I know, folks, 1.5 seconds doesn't sound like a lot of time, but in quarterback world, it is.
Yes,
it's a lot of time. And by the way, B, no procedural penalties.
Yeah, true. No procedural. Well, unless you count a kick out of bounds by a backup kicker. I don't know if that counts as procedural, but yeah, overall agreed. Nothing, no false starts, no offsides, no too many men on the field, none of that. Yeah.
Offsides.
Yep.
No field. As far as
delay a game, even delay a game.
No delay of game, and also no high snaps. No lost snaps. God. No fumbles. So it really, you have Russ as the OC of one. You had Coach O'Hara, the OC of the other. It's really hard to assess all the plays. B and I were in the stands craving for a 4 wide, craving for a 0-0. It's okay. But at the end of the day, folks, hopefully for those of you that saw it, for those of you that will see it on some replays on YouTube, we have depth. We have talent, and on paper, this is as good as we've been in a while. And I'll leave it to that.
Agreed. I love it. No, good stuff. No real additional thoughts there. I think you pretty much covered it very well there, like all the detailed stats and stuff about the performances. So yeah, I think overall really solid days for both offenses, both orange and blue, which was nice to see. I kind of liked the strategy of having Harrison with the backups so that you could kind of get some more depth there, and then putting Aiden in, as the initial backup. I don't know if that means right now that he's third on the depth chart in terms of Harrison. I'm not sure if it means that or not, but if it doesn't, then that's I think that's what we're working towards, is him being second. But right now maybe he's third. I don't know. But liked seeing that because we ended up with some decent ball throwing and catching on both sides, which was really nice. So with that, let's turn it over to defense. What do you got on Gator Bait?
Yeah, man. I'm gonna go through the very similar progression as I did on for Chump, but all I'm gonna say, I'm gonna just lead off with this guy here, who had 11 total tackles,
Yep.
3 solo, 8 assisted, a sack, and 3 TFLs. I'm just gonna call him this. I'm just gonna put this moniker on him right now. He's a monster. He's a menace, and that is Ty Jackson.
Yep.
Holy cow, what a game. So I'm going to lead there. Then after that, Hilton Stubbs, man, 8 total tackles, 5 solo, 3 assisted, and the pick. And the best thing about the pick, B, you said it, the awareness, the ball hawking. And that's the thing, we had some opportunities back in 23 and back in 22 to do some things with the football, and we just didn't. There wasn't the awareness, whether we were too concerned about the assignment or out of position or both. And not really sure where we need it to be. We've got some ball hawks, and it shows. Great there. Aaron Childs, 6 total tackles, 3 solo, 3 assisted. Braden Slade, 6 total tackles, 3 solo, 3 assisted. Kofi Asari.
Yes, sir.
The transfer from UMass.
5 the guy that everybody said, oh, why are we taking a group of 5, transfer at edge and everything else? Yeah, go ahead.
Yep, exactly the point, right? Because we're playing Moneyball. Either way, 3 solo, 2 assisted, 2 sacks, 3 TFLs.
Yep, and 3 TFLs. That's right.
Huge. Cameron James had a showing. 5 total tackles, 2 solo, 3 assisted, a sack, a TFL, but 2 pass breakups. We saw a lot of Harrison's passes get batted in that first half, right?
Yep.
Hey, another edge, Titus Bullard, 5 total tackles, 4 solo. Whew. Okay. Vincent Brown had a game. Michael Caraway, 4 total tackles. People remember him as a transfer. That was a big pickup.
Yep.
Laganza Hayward, 4 total tackles, 1 solo, 3 assisted. Phenomenal job there. Teddy Foster, 2 total tackles. Jalen Wiggins, who looks huge. Looks a lot bigger than I thought.
Yeah.
Right? 2 total tackles, a sack, a TFL. Ben Hanks, which he was battling all day long, it seemed like, with Wilson, Nation. Either way, 2 total tackles, 2 pass breakups. So great for him. Shivers looked good with 2 tackles. Jeremiah McLeod had a tackle that was solo, that was absolutely stuffed. And then over on the orange side, Miles Graham, 8 total tackles, 5 solo, 3 assisted, 2 TFLs. Jaden Robinson was worried he got nicked up in this game a little bit, but either way, finished the game with 8 total tackles, 3 solo, 5 assisted. And this is on the orange side, right? Josiah Davis, 4 total tackles. Sharif Denson, 4 total tackles. LJ McCray, 2 total tackles. I tell you what, this blue team, we were worried about a lot of things. We're glad to see the returning on the D line. We're glad to see some of that linebacker support, so that's going to be great. We were worried about what's going to happen on the edge. We're worried about safety, but at the end of the day, this D line can get the push that it got with some familiar foes, friendly foes. This defense can be I'm going to use your word that you said last year, elite. Can be absolutely elite, and hopefully we can see them come together, especially that secondary comes together. And if the scheme from Big Papa Ron does what it does, yes, I'm going to go back to calling him Big Papa Ron, because we're going to put our faith in him.
He earned it last year. He earned it. I mean, again, I think there's some stuff that still throws out some question marks with the scheme and what certain things will do. But overall, the defensive, when we look at points allowed, especially in those last few games, he earned it.
Yes. The last 5 games, the defense went on a run, and they did not look back. So great to see this. I think the other thing that was kind of sneaky about this game, B, that I'll point out is the speed. The speed is real. And those guys out there, for the first time in a long time, I believe we have some dogs on defense that are willing to get dirty, put their nose in, break up a play, do something dangerous, go for the ball, and that was really refreshing to see. The pop on defense, loved seeing that. That's all I got, Pete.
All right, I love it. Really good. Love all the stats. Once again, really nice take there, and I like to break down in terms of this. Again, for those of you who didn't see it or didn't see the rosters, the orange team was actually the starting defense. The blue team was the second team. So I'm going to take a minute to call this out. So first of all, the defense was not as impressive as the offense, which it would be impossible for it to be when you heard the offensive numbers that you heard, right? The defense can't look good or can't look great if the offense is looking like that. However, having said that, there were definitely positive signs. Again, the second team, the blue team defense here, D-line looked really good. Penetration left and right, similar to what we saw last year from Gums, right? And really kind of Ivory, who was kind of playing a hybrid in that game. But obviously Ivory didn't materialize, but Gums certainly did. I think we can definitely see that in some of the newer guys here, especially Asari, Wiggins, and Bullard, as you mentioned. Some really nice penetration from all three of those guys consistently. Love your call out about the passes being batted. We had multiple passes being batted. I mean, God, there must have been 5 or 6 of them. Again, on that blue team defense, I think Aiden maybe had one, but the Harrison was getting his ball batted down left and right. I mean, it was really impressive. So there's my positive. I would also call out Jaden Woods. You didn't mention him. He didn't necessarily fill up the stat sheet, but he was the only first team guy that was consistently getting penetration against our excellent first team offensive line, right? So again, the first team played the first team, the second team played the second team. And I do imagine that factored in a little bit. But again, we saw that last year, and then Gums came out and was a friggin' superhero, right? So I mean, I think that there is something to be said when you see some of the consistent penetration happening over and over and over again, even if it's from the second team guys. Again, Asari really standing out there, but also Wiggins and Bullard as well. So having said all that, I have to say I was a bit disappointed in the play of one LJ McCray. You mentioned it. 2 tackles, did not get a lot of penetration. Now, again, maybe this is credit to our O-line and what they're doing, but
Sure.
I want to see a guy like McCray be able to beat anybody on an O-line, right? I don't want to see anybody give him a handful or a problem. And I'm not seeing it yet from him. Hopefully that is not a sign of things to come. I would definitely have liked to see more there. But I also did, as I mentioned before, see evidence of these guys not going 100% at all times. I do wonder if that was coached and to not push too much. And it's interesting because this very much differs from when we saw AA on the sidelines, firing these guys up, getting them to go 110%, even in the spring game, running 300 blitzes, right? We we didn't see as much of that last year as we did 2 years ago. But I mean, you're seriously seeing a difference in the energy level, at least on the sidelines. And I'm not saying that's going to translate. AA became, I think, a little more of a cheerleader in the second half of the season when he stopped being in the box. And while that still had its impact, I do think that overall, when you look at it, we're seeing more of Robert's influence more and more in this. And that's not to say it's a negative necessarily. It's just different. It's a bit more passive. It's a bit more, not all high pressure all the time type of thing going on. So corners. We didn't mention this, or you didn't mention this in the part. I don't know. We can't always get the passes defended stats, but I will tell you, despite the passing performance, the corners look pretty good. You already made mention of Sturdivant having 7 targets and 1 reception. He was blanketed all day by one Cormani McClain, who looked pretty darn good. He did get beat on the one play. It was a pretty big pass, and he got cooked a little bit over the top. But overall, man, Cormani was holding J. Michael down. Like, he was not letting him get a whole lot. Then there was the coverage of one Devin Moore on a deep ball down the sideline where he was absolutely blanketing the receiver. I don't know who the receiver was. I couldn't see the number. I don't know if it was Brown. I don't know if it was Sturdivant. I don't know who the ball was intended for. But Devin Moore, that was some of the best coverage I've ever seen. I mean, it was perfect. Step for step, right in front of the receiver, no contact made, 0 chance to make the catch. Blanket coverage. I mean, textbook. Please stay healthy, Devin Moore. I beg of you, please stay healthy. I want to see you play a season because, man, you got game, kid. Would really love to see that happen. So overall, as I already mentioned, I think we're definitely seeing Robert's influence in how the D played, much more passive, with almost no blitzes called whatsoever, by the way. Very few blitzes called in this game. I can only remember 1 or 2 maybe off the top of my head. And for the record, I think that's appropriate for the spring game. I don't think we have to go and do some of the things, right? I was critical of AA, despite his enthusiasm. I was critical of running 17 blitzes in both halves, right, on both sides of the ball. Like, it was too much. It was way too much 2 years ago in the spring game. It was better last year, but there was still a lot or more than I would anticipate. I don't think you need to blitz that much in a spring game, right? It's a spring game. Let's settle down, So I think you're seeing that influence in that of Roberts. And again, maybe he told guys not to really go all out on certain things. I think I saw one time where I don't know if it was Laganza Hayward, or if it was Stubbs. It was a safety on the blue team for sure, where they absolutely held up from making a big hit. They could have absolutely delivered a hammer and did not. And I think that was probably coached. And again, probably not a dumb thing to do, right? So overall, those are my takeaways on defense. I really think we, again, are going to have to be somewhat opportunistic because of the way that we're going to play. But I think if we can do that and be solid and really limit those explosives and be, play good contain underneath, I'm with you. The potential with the talent, with the scheme set up the way it is, as long as we get the turnovers that we need, that is the kind of unpredictable factor. As long as we get the turnover we need and we get the pass rush we need, which I think the pass rush is more certain than the turnovers, I think we have the potential to have a really great defense this year. And if we have that combined with a pretty explosive offense potentially, which I can't believe I'm saying that, but I do think it is because of DJ only, only because of DJ. Let me be very clear. But I think when you look at that combination, man, that's a lot to handle if you're an opponent. That's a lot of guys have been saying it. Talking about the schedule again this year. It's a little different this year. It's not about who's Florida got to play. It's about who's got to play Florida. And I think that is starting to happen. And we'll hopefully see it continue to happen as the season goes on. So having said that, let's move on to visor throw. Mine is very quick here, not much to it. As I mentioned, I'm not surprised that we didn't see it, but I still would have liked to see at least one or two formations not in 11 or 12 personnel. That did not happen. It was 11 and 12 all day. Vanilla as ever. And again, even though I'm not surprised, with Russ making the comments he did, which I believe we've already touched on, but just in case, Russ did make the comments that we will absolutely be in multiple receiver sets, more than 2 or 3, meaning we will be in either 10 or possibly the ever infamous 00 personnel, where we are 4 or 5 wide receivers deep on the field at the same time. Say it isn't so, except do say that it's so, because please, 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 with all this receiver talent you had, do it. Good grief, drives me crazy. I'm not holding my breath. Again, this is a remains to be seen thing, but for the time being, we didn't see it, so I'm going to call it out. The only other thing I have is kickoff returns. Listen, if you want to bring the ball back to the 30 after, fine. But let Tank take the kick to the house that he could have taken to the house, right? We absolutely saw him get the opportunity to take one back to the barn. What does that do for the crowd? What does that do for enthusiasm, right? Even if you don't count it, you still got to see it, and people are like, oh, man, this kid can run. Also, side note, please let Tank return kickoffs this year, because, oh my goodness, he can fly. He can absolutely fly. Really fun to watch, but, get a little more excitement in the game. Come on, Billy. Like, let him take it back. Don't whistle the thing dead at the 30. I didn't love it. I didn't love it. Let's let him play, and then if you need to bring the ball back to give that, side of the team the possession or whatever, fine. Don't count the score. I don't care, but let him run it. That's my gripe there. And that's all I got. What do you got for visor throw?
Nice. I like it. Hey man, like I told you in the stands on Saturday, I don't want to be eating a lot of vanilla ice cream this fall. I just don't.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I just don't, right? And Russ, come on, Russ. We've seen you do some things, put together some things back at Samford. I get this is not Samford, but at the same time, you have ideas, you have resources, you've got some pretty good play design. Implement them. So there's that. The visor throw, TJ Abrams, but not in the sense of I want to knock on TJ. I just feel bad for him because that caused. Yep, that caused the tip caused Aiden's INT, and I just know he was looking to have a really big game and ball out and just didn't. And so I just feel bad for him in the sense of I can understand how upset and dejected he must be. So it was really nice to see Billy Gonzalez go up to him on the sideline, tap his helmet, put his hand on his shoulder, and I'm sure Billy was coaching him up pretty good there. So glad to see that. It's funny you have on there Tank's speed. I have literally in my notes, Tank's speed, return the football. It's provocative. It will get Gator Nation going. And that's all I got to say about that. Tank fast. He does not move like a tank.
Tank fast, man, for sure. Tank fast.
Tank fast. Tank no move like Tank. period. So there's that. And then all the injuries. DJ, I'm glad he started the series. We knew it was going to be a handoff. It was what it was. It was like he made a cameo in a Naked Gun film, but outside of that, glad to see him go. But just the injuries, you just scratch your head at. Trey Wilson, offseason hip surgery. Damian George, Najee Harris, who was present, was in a boot, not bad, a tweak. Aaron Gates, Bryce Thornton, Pup Howard. I mean, we are missing.
A lot of guys didn't play. You're not wrong. A lot of guys didn't play. Yeah, would have loved to be able to shout out Pup Howard on this thing, and we can't because he didn't play. So
yeah, especially what he did last spring game, and that's where we're like, oh my gosh, Pup Howard, he good. But either way, that just goes to show the depth here.
Yeah, and I feel like I do want to clarify. Neither one of us is saying that we're complaining that they didn't play because they're hurt. We're just upset that they're hurt.
Oh,
right?
No,
like we want them to get healthy and be right for the season. This game doesn't matter. Those games do, right? So by all means, take the precautions necessary. Be careful, whether it's Lagway, Pup Howard, whoever, Trey Wilson, right? Whoever it may be. By all means, take the precautions. It's just, we would have loved to see him. But hey, we get it.
But that's the other thing too, right? To that end, I'd rather have the injury bug now versus in the fall, and I'll close with that.
No, fair enough. I think those are good. I like the little variance on the take there. I like, complaining about some things we would have liked to see, even if it wasn't anything that anybody did wrong. I like it.
Yeah.
That's called improvising some visor throws, which that's we gotta do in the spring game. So with that, let's move on to recruiting in our hatchling segment. What do you got there? What did you hear about? What did you see about? What's been the scuttlebutt since?
Yeah, so I got a couple of things based off a couple of things I read from Sports Illustrated. So citing Sports Illustrated, On3, 247. I did a look back at last year's spring game. So last year's spring game at this time, we were let me get my notes here. Yeah, here we go. We had 5 commits, and we were number 17 in recruiting in the country in the national rank. Right now, we have 3 commits, and we are ranked number 14 in the country. So,
what does that tell you, sir?
Oh boy, we got some quality coming in, and so when you look at that and who is in attendance, by the record here, it shows we had Mr. Joseph Mbachu in attendance. Javari Flowers for the 26th class, Miles Johnson, Muiz Tankara, Onus Conan Banny, flip from Tennessee, as well as everybody else leaving Tennessee. Sorry. Felix Oho, Isaiah Williams. So out of that bunch, we have Isaiah Williams, Devin Jackson's our other commit, and Will Griffin, the quarterback out of Jesuit over there in Tampa. We also saw Aiden Pouncey, Preston Ashley, Kendall Garcelle, CJ Hester, Tyson Bacon, Graham Houston, Kekua Amua in attendance as well. And for the 27 class, I'm not sure if you saw this, but Ahmad Hudson, Mark Matthews, Frederick Arch, Tremont Collins. In the 28 class, Knox Ennis and Anthony Howard. So we had a good bit in attendance there.
Props on the Kekua Amua pronunciation. Well done, sir.
Oh, yeah.
Very nice.
Appreciate that. Yeah,
for sure. I'm glad you did it and not me. So let's just add some clarity here. The first list there until we got to Felix Oho was going to be your 2025 commits that just haven't signed yet, right? Because they've signed, but they haven't enrolled yet, right? So we had a bunch of those guys show up from the 2025 class that are going to be summer enrollees rather than spring or rather than fall. So they're not able to. Well, I mean, it's really not fall; it's really winter. I guess it's really spring technically, but it's January enrollees. January versus June. How about that? We'll just go January and June. So the guys that you listed at first, they're all actually 2025 class guys that just haven't gotten on the roster yet, right? They weren't early enrollees like a Dallas Wilson, like a Vernell Brown, right? Correct. Some of the guys like a Lagonza Hayward, like a Dre Stubbs. I can go on and on, right? We've got some really impressive names in this class that are already making an impact. Ben Hanks, how about that one? Even though Dallas Wilson did do a little bit of a number on Ben Hanks in this game, but Ben Hanks did have a nice play a couple of times, so definitely saw some potential with him too. However, so from a recruiting standpoint, the one that really stood out to me, I'm just going to focus on one, and that's 5-star O-lineman Felix Oho. This is a big one. This one would really matter. We have not landed a 5-star O-line recruit since Billy has been here. So not only is it important, but also when you look, 4 of our 5 starters for next year, maybe not 4. I don't know. I think Najee could potentially come back and do another season, but then again, he could go pro also. So it's hard to say. But it's highly possible. It's definite that we lose 3 starters from this O-line next year. It is possible we lose 4. That hurts big time, right? We have got to replace that with some high-end talent. And the only way you're going to see a freshman start in the SEC at offensive line is if they're a 5-star. It's just not going to happen if they aren't. And we have, once again, none since Billy's been here. I would blame Rob Sale for that, but he likes Rob Sale and keeps him on the payroll. So whatever. Having said that, though, this is a legit shot. I think one of our best shots that we've had so far. Obviously, we had a couple last year we really thought we had a chance with, didn't pan out. Now, we certainly got some good 4-stars coming in. But again, I think that's going to be highly questionable whether or not those guys can really start moving forward. So we're definitely going to want to see some stuff from some previous years recruiting coming forward. It's good to see Bryce Lovett, as I mentioned. Like to see something out of Fletcher Westfall this year. On and on. The point being, Felix Oho would be a huge get. I don't know if we're going to get him. But man, it's good to see us getting the talent in the swamp that we need to be getting into the swamp and hopefully landing some of these recruits. Obviously, Billy's been hot, to say the least, on the recruiting trail in the last 6 months. Let's hope that continues. So that's all I got for hatchlings. Moving on to Pride of the Sunshine. Pretty straightforward here. No surprises. Team looked like they had really good chemistry. No squabbles or fights whatsoever, even on some of the harder hits that did take place in the game. It continues to be one of Billy's best attributes, as we have mentioned, or both of us, me, whatever, time and time again. I really hope to be able to say that for our team for a long time to come, whether Billy's here or not. I love that this team plays the way they do for one another, for the university, for their coaches. It's just great to watch. It's what you want to see out of a genuinely composed and solid football team. It's a key element, and it really can't be understated in its importance. And that's why we do this segment and why we talk about it. But at any rate, that's all I got. What do you got for Pride of Sunshine?
Did you say Billy stayed hot? I mean, is that to play off of Gator Boy Stay Hot? So you're trying to say,
I think it wasn't intentional. It wasn't intentional, but maybe it was subconsciously. I don't know. I didn't do it on purpose, but
just saying.
Yeah, for sure. And we're not talking, we should probably just briefly segue here. How about them Gators, national title winners in basketball? We didn't mention it. We obviously talked about it before the Final Four. Man, what a weekend. What a couple of games. Hats off to Todd Golden and the team. I don't have the words, man. First school ever, for those that don't know, first school ever to have 3 national championships in basketball and football. Literally nobody else has done it. It's pretty amazing.
Great, yeah. We probably should start with that shout out, but
yeah, we probably should have. We probably should have. That's an oversight on our part. We were very focused on the football. It's what we concentrate the most here on, in fairness. So we did focus on that. But yeah, shout out to the Gator boys, man. They did stay hot for sure.
There you go. So yeah, for me, Pride of the Sunshine wise, I'm going to go with the overarching thing that I think we can argue to that Billy has done absolutely right is the construction of this program, starting with culture. Construction is key and not easy to do. Not easy to get 17, 18, 19, 20-year-old kids on the same page, all flowing in the same direction, rowing the boat at the same pace at the same time. So phenomenal there. I love the exchanges between Hanks and Wilson and Hanks and Hawkins. The little butt tap, the little helmet tap here and there, because it seemed like they were going to war on the edges there. I'm just telling you.
Yep, agreed.
So I enjoyed seeing that. The spring game, this spring game had a much different tone from last spring game. And I get it, 56,000+ in the swamp, that broke a record dating back to Timothy Tebow, right? 2009, 2010 era. I get it. The basketball team, the halftime presentation might have had a little bit to do with it, but either way, it was great to have the atmosphere, that feel. 1:00 Saturday afternoon. The weather was perfect, 73 degrees, nice and sunny, mild wind. It felt really good. It just felt very palpable of what could be in the fall. Because here's the other thing too that we have to have the realization of. we are probably going to face, and B, I'm not sure your thoughts on this, we're probably going to face a ranking this fall. We will be ranked.
If we don't, I'm going to fight somebody.
Right? There's a strong probability we end up in the teens, folks. That's been a while. I'm just going to say It's been a while. And then outside of that, I'm going to say something that about the past 2 spring games. We had AA, bringing the energy, the Energizer Bunny. He was doing something. He was jumping on the field. He's high-fiving. He's chest bumping. He's fist bumping. We didn't have that. But I tell you what, he called Ron Roberts his football dad. And I tell you what, we questioned the schemes. We questioned a lot of the things. But at the end of the day, especially with that 5-game stretch that we finished last year, he really turned that defense around, especially starting with the bye week, coming to the UCF game. And the demeanor is different. The approach is different. But the mechanics and everything else, they're in line, especially when you look at the new additions. And I'm also curious to see what Bala is going to do, especially replacing Will there at the linebacker position. That is a very important position for this defense. Big Papa Ron might be a little bit more stoic, but if he's going to do the things that we've seen glimpses of, it's going to be phenomenal. And this is going to make this team even more dangerous because we truly get to see complementary football at its finest.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well said. Well said. All right, moving on to our section, our little bonus section here for the spring game pod. We'll talk Gators that growled. I'm going to cheat a little again here too. I'm going to be honest. I got a few a couple that aren't exactly individual players, but I got to do it. So I'll get us started here. My first one is the entire starting O-line. Again, I mentioned it before. Outstanding. And for the record, if you have a good O-line, they play as a unit. Right, they play as one, so I'm going to say that still counts as one, and I'm going to give myself a pass there. So, but no, just outstanding blocking again. Very few pressures, even much less sacks on Aiden Warner. Really solid job by this starting O-line. Really excited to see what we get to see them do in the spring. So that's my number one. Who you got?
Nice. My number one, I'm going to start with is, believe it or not, Jake Slaughter.
Yeah. Okay.
Jake has proved himself time and time again, senior leader. And I tell you, coming out down the road from Spar, Florida, just, a little ways away outside of Ocala. But Jake has meant everything to this offense. He has been the glue that has kept this offense together over the past few seasons. I'm expected to see him shine this year. Yep. He's going to stay healthy. He's going to lead that offensive line and let them know how to set the tone in the trenches. And to note, all the sacks that came in this game against Ada, notice they came from the edge. They did not come from up the middle. So the middle is taken care of.
Yes, it is. Agreed. The center of that, I think the tackles are the only question we have. And even there, I still feel pretty good. But the center, those guards and Jake, man, whew, good luck. Good luck getting through that. I wish you well. It's going to be a challenge. All right, cool. Number 2, again, I got a little combo here. I'm going to go Jaden and Jacoby, right? We'll pull a little ESPN, and we'll go Jaden and Jacoby and talk about Jackson and Baugh here. Unbelievable performances from both of these guys. Again, Baugh didn't necessarily show it in the rushing yards, though 11 for 56. I think you said that's over 5 yards a carry, so that's not nothing. Right, so that's still a pretty solid day, though it's no 198 yards like Jacoby had. But having said that, really phenomenal game from both of these guys. Again, just cannot wait to see them come back for a second season as the starters here. They were the starters by default last year at times when Montrell couldn't go. And man, every time that happened, they showed up. They showed up in backup roles. They showed up time and time again. These guys they're great backs, and I'm really excited to see them moving forward. One quick side note here. Any surprise we didn't see Katie Daniels in this game?
Yeah.
I don't know that he's hurt. I was surprised. Maybe he's hurt. I don't know. But just a side note, did not see the field. So not sure what to make of that. Trayon Webb, I know, is still recovering from the injury, but KD, as far as I know, not hurt. So a little surprise there. But anyway, we'll see what happens come fall. Go ahead. Who's your number 2?
My number 2, believe it or not, is Jack Cheese. It's Jacoby.
There you go.
I tell you what, last spring game, Jaden came out, he balled out, and he really started that campaign. We saw how shifty he could be despite the size. I tell you what, I'm so happy Jack Cheese came back. for this campaign, and he's going to bring that leadership because he saw Montrell do it for a couple of years. He had a great example. He had a great leader. Now he is leading. He will lead this running back core. When you look at between he, Jaden, KD, Trayon, Duke, Clark, really, really excited to see this room thrive this fall.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And so am I, obviously. So my number 3 is actually going to be a freshman here, first freshman on the list, not the last. And this is not ranked necessarily in order, by the way, but I will put this up there as being one of the standouts. Is obviously Dallas Wilson. We already talked about it. 10 catches, 195 yards, 2 touchdowns. I mean, yeah, okay, it was against second team defense, but I don't really care. That's ridiculous. Like he absolutely balled out in this game. I am so excited to see him come next season. I hope that he sees the field with some regularity. I would think after that spring game, if he doesn't, we're going to have people rioting. So I would certainly think that we're going to see some more of that come from Dallas Wilson in the 2025 season, and that's good stuff.
Agreed. Guess what? My number 3, Dallas Wilson.
Hey,
all I'm going to say is
we do not compare notes before these pods. We
not at
literally
all.
write these things ourselves, and this is how it works out. So we can't make it up. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, cannot make that up. Correct. All I'm going to say is I'm going to just echo the words of Billy. That's what 5-star looks like.
That's it. That's it. I think that's all that needs to be said. Enough said. Enough said. All right, moving along. Next freshman on my list is Mr. Ty Jackson. You had the stat breakdown on him. I did not find that, but man, I know he had a heck of a stat line. Absolutely phenomenal game from him. Looking again really good on that blue team defense. But it would not shock me if Ty Jackson sees the field at some point. I think Billy called him one of the most instinctually gifted linebackers he's ever seen. The guy just gets the game. He knows where to go. He knows where to be at the position. Man, did that show up in this game? I think you said 10 tackles, 3 for loss, sack, something like that. It was a big number you rolled off there. And again, I don't have the stat, but impressive stuff from Ty. So that's my next one.
Very impressive. And I'll roll it back to you. 11 total tackles, 3 11. Solo, wow. 8 assisted, 1 sack, 3 TFLs.
Man, it's not bad. It's not bad for a freshman in the spring game who just got here 3 months ago. Okay. All right, Ty, okay. I see you.
So actually, I'm gonna shift on you here. I'm gonna go a tandem, and this is gonna be I'm gonna title it Warner Bailey Studios. And the reason why I say it like that is because last year when DJ went down, and I was there for the Florida-Georgia game. Darn that turf, darn that turf, darn that turf. But either way, you there was this palpable gasp, right? And Aiden, bless his heart, right? Coming into a situation like that, it's not fair. Those are the situations you dream about, right, as a kid, but just not fair to be thrusted in that type of spotlight. So to see what Aiden looked like coming out of spring camp, or through spring camp now, and the confidence, the arm, the ability to check those progressions and move the ball, progress the ball downfield, phenomenal. Harrison Bailey, by way of Tennessee, UNLV, Louisville, now in the swamp, growing up a Gator fan, and as he put it on the podium after the spring game, gets to live out his dream here in the swamp, to play in the swamp. I'm really glad to see him spin the ball, but he can spin the ball well. Glad to see him come out in that second half and put on a much different showing. So with Warner and Bailey Studios, God forbid something happens to DJ, I believe we can be competent with the weapons around us to move the ball down the field. So that's why these two guys get that shout out for me in this section.
I like it. I really like the point of a lot of accurate balls being thrown, right? A lot of them. Some good passing out there, nothing dangerous, nothing foolish, and good accurate throws when they were being made. I think it's a valid point. I love the Warner Bailey. Love it. Good stuff.
Yeah.
Good stuff. All right. My next one is one Kofi Asari. Again, I'm going to call out here. A lot of flack when this kid got picked up in the transfer portal. He's a group of 5. He can't play in the SEC. Buddy, let me tell you right now, that kid can play in the SEC. I would be shocked if he is not your next George Gums. He popped. He may have only had 2 sacks. Not that 2 sacks is nothing, but he only had 2 sacks, but he was living in that backfield, giving Harrison Bailey fits all day. He was constantly beating his man. I know it was a second team offensive lineman. I understand that. However, I don't care because this is still a guy who is recruited and is going to see some time in the SEC as an offensive lineman this season in all likelihood. And Kofi was making him borderline look silly. He was absolutely fierce from that edge position. Super impressed. Wiggins impressed me as well, but Kofi was, man, he was good. He was all over it back there. So he gets my next shout out for Gators that growled.
Nice. And my last one is going to be, I'm just going to call him this. He's a monster. He's a menace. He is none other than Ty Jackson.
Yes,
he good. He good.
Yep, for sure. We already covered his stat line. Yep, leave it at that. I like it. I have one more to follow up. I had one more than you on this. I had to call out Nahshon Montgomery. Again, I want to give these freshman receivers their love. I did not have Vernell Brown on here just because he didn't. The beginning of the game was great, but then he kind of just didn't get any more catches. Not his fault, but just kind of the way the game played out. But Nahshon came on in the second half and had some great catches, including a 51-yarder. Just absolutely outstanding. It's so funny. I remember we were talking when Nahshon caught his first pass. He was wearing number 0, right? And I didn't know that going in. I didn't have all the new numbers memorized. And he caught the ball and he went streaking across the field. It was about a 10-yard in, and he's coming 10-yard crossing, whatever, across the field, catches the ball, and then absolutely explodes, makes a guy miss, and gets about probably a 17, 18-yard gain along the sideline. I was like, who is that? Because I don't know who 0 is, but that guy can move. That was a great route, great catch, great yak. I mean, I immediately said, who is that? And we went and looked it up, and it's Nahshon Montgomery. And I was like, well, that tracks. Could be the star of this class, the unheralded star of this class. I'll put it that way. I think we got several stars in this class. He could be the one that went under a lot of people's radar. He got a lot of offers, but I don't know how hard he was recruited for those offers. We obviously went the extra mile with him, got him out of Miami, got him up to Gainesville, and buddy, I think that was a nice pickup. Really like this kid's potential. Love where I can see him going. Some really good things that I saw from him, even in a limited number of catches, but still impressive nonetheless. So I'll leave it at that. We'll move on. We'll wrap this thing up. I'll let you start on this. Give me your thoughts on where we stand as a team based on what you saw from the spring game.
Oh man, depth, deeper. Talent, shined. Older age equals experience, but I'll tell you what, it's not just the experience that we have and the scar tissue that we have because of the returning talent. It's that young talent that's going to see the experience and lead them because of the examples that they've had in Mertz, in Montrell, in Pearsall, in
Love
DK,
that.
so on and so forth.
Yep.
I think that's going to be phenomenal, and that's what really. If I know Billy as well as we're getting to know him, that's going to be the message for these guys, these seasoned guys with the scar tissue, to go to these younger guys and say, "Hey, this is how we go about our business here. This is how we go about our blue collar type of work." Sound familiar?
Yep.
Sound familiar?
Does.
Right? This is how we go about our work. This is how we go about our business. This is how we represent Gator Nation, and so. If these are micro-isms of things to come, it's going to be a very, very exciting fall, and I will be so happy to eat more than vanilla ice cream. Looking forward to it, B.
Yeah, I hope you do. That those are the things that are still out on the jury that we're waiting on. We'll see. I'm not sold, but hey, we'll see what happens. And I do have more optimism going into this season than I did. Certainly going into 2 seasons ago. My optimism was actually quite a bit higher last season because all the things we were hearing, and then that obviously did not materialize at first and then got better. But I think overall I'm with you for the most part. So last year when I did this, I went back and looked at my notes. I talked about the ceiling and the floor of this team being evident last year, right? We saw the ceiling in the spring game. We saw the floor in the spring game. And there was a pretty wide gap there, if I'm going to be honest. I'll say that we saw this again in this spring game, at least to a degree. I mean, it's a little hard with Lagway not throwing, but I think we still saw it for the most part. But I saw a floor that was way higher than the previous teams we have seen under Napier. And it's just that talent level. The floor is just not the same. It is elevated without question. This team's worst is better than significantly better than these years past teams' worst. Now, is it good enough to win 10 games at their worst? Absolutely not, especially not against the schedule we have to face this fall. However, if you look at the way things work in college football or really any college sport, you're going to see some floor, you're going to see some ceiling, you're going to see some thing in the middle, right? That's how it's going to flow. And hopefully you don't see full games at the floor, obviously, because that doesn't usually end well. Texas. But you also don't always see full games at the ceiling. You want to be somewhere in between there, obviously, with more peaks than valleys. Of course, it goes without saying. But what I'll say is that when you elevate your floor, that does help you. And I think we saw that. I think we saw the talent that this team has with no orange and blue goggles. I can truly say that the talent level on this team is clearly elevated from previous seasons. And it will be interesting to see how much of Napier's play calling that can overcome in 2025. There we go. So that's my final thoughts on it.
What an admonition.
I really hope that that's not the case, obviously, but again, I do think that it's still something we're going to have to battle. So time will tell, and we'll get from there. So with that, we will wrap this thing up. Our next regularly scheduled podcast is going to be April 29th, where we will have a discussion on if the Gators can or will return to SEC dominance. So we will get into a little evaluation after seeing this game, after seeing that ceiling, seeing that floor. What do we think we can be? What do we think the potential is to actually get back to some SEC dominance in 2025? So really looking forward to that. Looking forward to having a good discussion around it. And we will do that in 2 weeks. So with that, I will turn it over to you for any final thoughts and sign us off.
Yeah, man. I tell you what, great points tonight. It was great being back in the swamp.
Yes, indeed.
Great to
Same to
see
you.
energy. Yeah, man. Phenomenal. So again, I feel like an old Celine Dion song, right? There were flashes of light, a glimmer of hope. But at the end of the day, let's hope that we come out of this spring and summer healthy, come into fall camp healthy, and live up to all this hype that we see and all of the talent that we see on this paper. So that'd be phenomenal. Thank you all for watching, and wherever you are, whenever you may be listening, thank you for taking the time, and we will see you around, Gator Nation.